Alrighty, so I'm live again, take two. It turns out I can edit this later, but I think what I probably have to do is download it, whatever. The thing about me is I'm pretty lazy, so if I don't do something right when I have the impetus to do it, it's not going to get done. So that's what this whole thing is. That's what you're watching right now is me just trying to get it done. Because whatever. Here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to talk and ramble and just be rambling like I usually am and try to get this out because, like I said in my other video that I scrapped because I didn't know if I was doing it right, it's been like 2 years literally since I left my last thing. And since in 2 years, um, things have considerably gotten more advanced, but then it also doesn't help me because the way I was uploading these before was pretty janky, but it was the way I knew how to do it. And so now I'm like, what? Anyway, so yeah, and in that 2 years, I have been getting like some pretty monster revelations, but I don't know. I got super busy and I had a career shift, whatever, you don't care. But yesterday I got this thing about a turtle and it was just like so complete and good that I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally forgot that I had a channel about where I was doing this. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about today because um, I just didn't, I had the energy to talk about it the other day and now I don't. So, this though that I'm going to talk about is this has been like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the TV show or the the metaphor for what this thing has been for me over like the last year and a half. It's like the star in Super Mario Brothers. Like that's not really a good one. It's just maybe the feather. It's like the feather in Super Mario Brothers 3. I'm just like I got the feather and then which is the thing that gives you the cape? Because that's is that the which one is the raccoon? Oh, that's a feather too, or is it a leaf? None of this matters. So I feel like I got like, the flower power with this thing. It's just like boom, boom. It's just like it's changed my whole situation. As this has only happened maybe like once or twice, maybe three times in my life. I think I might need to get my Bible out for this one because I'm going to be quoting stuff and I don't want to quote it wrong. But you know that scripture where Jesus is like, careful that the light that you think you have isn't really darkness because see, I'm already about to butcher it, but basically there's a couple times in my life where I had a revelation that was so massive that it was like someone just came and took an eye patch off of my eye. And like I didn't realize I was walking around with like my sight messed up. Like I didn't realize I was blind in that area. And it really like I mean to the point where you're like trying to reprocess information and it's like what. So this is probably the biggest and most um uh the craziest sort of before and after that I've ever had with a revelation, and I've used it for practically everything. It's my go-to. um and oddly enough it has to do with race, and it's been a while now. I don't remember the full context. But I do remember I was watching I was watching um, the inaugural address, and no, it wasn't the inaugural address. Why did I say that? What's the address? Address the nation, whatever. A presidential something. I don't know names now. My mind is ridiculous. But anyway, so I was watching that, and it was whatever the thing was where he was State of the Union. Thank you, brain. So I was watching State of the Union, and it was when he was talking about all the good stuff that was happening in the country. And he says, um, he's like, and black unemployment is down. is lower than it's ever been in the history of the world, which I don't know if that's just like a Trump exaggeration or whatever, but it's pretty low and everyone knows it. And so he deserves credit for that. So everybody was clapping. So everyone's clapping, and like the Republicans are literally just, they didn't cut the Holios. They are ecstatic about this. And they're so happy. And I don't know if that was just, I don't know if it was political or whatever, but in the moment, it was just a really poignant, nice moment. I'm the type of person, I don't like to have to be, what do you call it? I don't like to have to be cynical if I don't need to be. Like, maybe you call it gullible or whatever, but I just believe what I'm shown. I believe what people tell me because I had to make a decision to do that, because it just seemed like everyone in life was telling you to just have, keep an eye out and just whatever. And philosophically, it didn't make sense for me. If I'm somebody who just tends to believe what you say, that's my personality. I need to stick with that. If you have the personality to keep an eye out or whatever, you stick with that. We come together. We both can create a complete picture. So my job is to believe what I see on the surface. And so I had to like decide, okay, if I'm going to be a discerning person, I'm just going to have to use different ways of discerning other than just not believing the best right up front, because that's just what I'm going to do. So all I see is he says black unemployment is down. The Republicans go into raptures. They are really happy about that. And I was like, oh, look at the Republicans. They're so happy about that. Like, there's no black Republicans at the thing. So it was just a really nice moment. It was a nice moment. And it really was about to like make me emotional. And then they panned over to that hating ass Black Caucus, and they were sitting there just like, I just, all I see is just like everyone sitting there with just a sour face. I wish I could just like, now I wish you could see me, because then I could do the what they're doing. But they were sitting there with their little sour faces and their freaking arms crossed. And I saw that shit and I was like, sorry, I cussed out. And I was like, okay, what is that? What is that? What is that? Like, there's only, because I was like, okay, if you're a black person, you're black, you're a Democrat, you hate President Trump. Okay. You literally only have one way that you can respond to what you just heard. And that is sitting down with the sour face and the slow clap. That's your only option. If you were trying to tell me that you are black and you're a Democrat and you care about black people because you're black, you have one way that is available to you, and that is the slow clap. Yeah, all right, I will give you that one, but whatever. We still don't like you. That's the only one you have. Them sitting there and not doing, and just looking and just not clapping for that. I was like, they don't know what to do, because they don't actually care. They don't want to be seen clapping. They know they can't do that. But they can't, so they just did nothing. I was like, I'm watching, it was like a moment where I was like, this is a show. You're playing, you're in the show, everyone's in the show. And I was just like, you know what? I I don't even know. I don't even remember what was happening, what was triggering it. I think I was listening to like a lot of Thomas Sowell at the time too. But I was like, this racism thing is just not real. Like, it's just not real. I just was like, I'm just not buying it anymore. I'm just gonna like, yeah. So now I'm remembering where I was in that moment, like mentally. But I was looking up a lot of Thomas Sowell and a lot of conspiracy stuff about Martin Luther King, and I was just like, I do this thing where I just move blocks around, and I'm just like, what if this isn't real? And I just put it off to the side, and then just see how the world functions with that thing not being real in my mind anymore. So that's what I was doing at the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking racism off the table. I don't think that shit is real anymore. I don't think it's real. It's something else. Something else is making things happen, but it's not. It's nothing to do with race. It's not racism. It's a made up term. It literally like is only like 100 years old. This term. So I'm like, all of humanity hasn't needed it till 100 years ago. Like, that's stupid. So I just like said that and just moved on with life. So I was like, you know what? I don't think racism is real. And I didn't say anything else about it. Then I was going about my business. But like days went by. When I tell you that I opened up the Bible post racism is not real statement. And this is what happens when you believe things. And this is why it's important to know what you believe and say what you believe. And switch your beliefs around and bring it like this is all movable stuff here. So just try it out. Like people think like if you change your belief, it's gonna like I don't know. I can't even describe it right now. But so anyway, I picked up Romans. Okay. I picked up Romans. I think it was like chapter 1. I picked up Romans chapter 1 and it was like boom, it was like lit like oh my gosh. Like literally it was like blinding me. I wish I could explain it to you. But I felt the sensation of just like it was blinding me. It was so bright. It was just in my face. The words were just jumping into my face. And it was loud. like I will never forget this sensation. It was so crazy. It was like a bullhorn. Every word was like a bullhorn and it was jumping out in my face. So I was like, okay. And basically what God was able to tell me now that I took off this racism thing off of the table. He was like, there's 2 kinds of people. Just 2. That's it. Just 2. That's it. It was just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, there's just 2 kinds of people, guys. Just 2. The wicked and the righteous. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. And you're either going from one category to the other over the course of your life, or you're slowly becoming one or the other over the course of your life. But those are only 2 kinds. Those are only real 2 kinds. The rest of this stuff, race is also I've done more research on race since then, and that's not literally not a thing. But race and gender and all that's variety. This is just you're at the grocery store, you're picking fruit. This is just variety. The kinds of people there are 2. That's it. So I'm gonna just read you some of this here. Because I remember when I read it, I was like, oh my God, the Bible is real. Okay. So I just want, when you think of this, when you read this, just think about the fact that there are only 2 kinds of people. This is like some of Romans. Okay, the wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness. This is the Bible describing one type of person to you. The wicked, okay? Who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them. It's plain to them because God has made it plain to them. He's still describing wicked people. Wicked people know what's true because it's plain to them and because God made it plain to them. So the Bible is telling you something that that you wouldn't know, because people can fool you and tell you that they don't, that, well, what if they don't know? And the Bible is telling you God made it plain to them. So don't ever worry about that. Why? How? For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Do you know how many times I've read this and just was like, I don't understand. Okay, now it's going to explain to you the attributes of wicked people. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. So their foolish hearts have become darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over in sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts, even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. And they invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy. Holy moly. These people are crazy. Now, every time I would read this, I would be like, well, but I have some of these too. Like, I've gossiped before. I've slandered before. You're trying to find yourself and you're trying to make sure that you're not, I don't know. You don't understand the scriptures because you got stuff all over your eyes. And the thing is, like, yes, you're sinful. So everyone has wickedness in them. So, but you shouldn't be checking like 70% of the boxes, which the wicked people are. Okay, and then he says, see, I lost my place. There's something that he said that like freaked me out. Where is it? Maybe it's right here. It's probably right here, and I'm about to pass over it. Okay. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Oh yeah. Okay. So there's also in this stuff, these are very specific attributes. Someone who not only continues to do those things, but approve of those who practice them. That's pretty specific. Having no understanding, no fidelity, no faithfulness to anything, no fidelity whatsoever. Inventing ways of doing evil. That's really, it's not good. Like that's a telltale sign. I think everyone's come across somebody who like came up with something that you would never come up with, and you get this like gross chill like feeling over yourself. Okay. So then after he says that, he says, you therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself, because you who pass judgment do the same things, which is what I would say when I was reading this part. Now we know that God's judgment against those who do such things is based on truth. So when you, a mere human being, pass judgment on them, yet do the same things, do you not think you will escape God's judgment? Or do you show contempt for the riches of his kindness, forbearance, and patience, not realizing that God's kindness is intended to lead you to repentance? So the you in this sentence, he's saying leading you to repentance, but not leading them to repentance, because it's not possible. I don't know if you got that or not. Okay, and then it says, but because of your stubbornness and your unrepentant heart, you are storing up wrath against yourself for the day of God's wrath, when his righteous judgment will be revealed. God will repay each person according to what they have done. To those who, by persistence in doing good, seek glory, honor, and immortality, he will give eternal life. Okay, now he's describing the righteous. Okay, so then he says, But those who are self-seeking, this is the wicked. Self-seeking, those who reject the truth and follow evil. So I think what I did after I read this is I made a whole list of every attribute of the wicked. And then it says, there will be trouble and distress for every human being who does evil, first for the Jew, then for the Gentile. But glory and honor and peace for everyone who does good, first for the Jew, then for the Gentile. For God does not show favoritism. Then it says, okay, so this is the part that blew me away. And this is getting really long, and I'm sorry. Maybe I can edit this later. So it says, all who sin apart from the law will also perish apart from the law, and all who sin under the law will be judged by the law. For it is not those who hear the law who are righteous in God's sight, but it is those who obey the law who will be declared righteous. Not those who hear it, but those who obey it. Then he says, parentheses, indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. What is he talking about? They show that the requirements of the law are written on their hearts. Their conscience is also bearing witness, and their thoughts sometimes accusing them, and at other times even defending them. Paul is literally telling you that it is possible to just not have the law and do by nature the things required by the law. You can be a Gentile and be righteous. You could have never seen it in your life and be a righteous person. So it tells me that wickedness and righteousness is the law is here, but wickedness and righteousness is the reality that the law is trying to illustrate. I'm confusing myself, so I don't blame me if you don't understand what I'm saying, but I understand it like perfectly. And then when I read that, it was like God was like, "That's you." And I was like, "What?" Indeed, when Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature things required by the law, they are a law for themselves, even though they do not have the law. And at the time, it was like really hard for me to accept that. And now, after a year of having it, it's like, oh yeah, I can see where even if I was at church and I would be like a kid, and I would be like, I don't think that's right. And I don't think I would be able to confidently be like, no, even if they were telling everybody that's what you should do. And there's so many problems that come from just people not having it in their hearts and not really understanding it. And I also have this thing about, I'm trying to get this revelation in my mind about the sheep, like feed my sheep and stuff. And yes, we're all sheep, but I think that, and this is not biblical, I'm not even saying this is, I'm just throwing this out here. But like, I think there is a type of person. It's like the masses, you know how the masses almost have this like mindless thing about them. Like they just kind of go this way and that. They don't really think for themselves. And not everybody, I don't know that it's necessary for every single person to have this strong sense of whatever. I mean, that's why you have the Bible, so you're not fooled. But like most people, they're just trying to work. They're just trying to like, provide for their family. They're, when you zoom into them, you see that everybody's individuals and they all have needs and wants and gifts and traits, and they just fit into society and they do their jobs, and they're like, I think that the sheep are those people. And because even I've always felt like I get really, really burdened. I mean, that's the whole point of me leaving these videos, which is this one's long and rambling and probably not helpful to anyone, but it's like I get a really strong burden for people who are just confused. It's like, you don't have to be confused. Like, it's just sad. It's like, no, don't be confused. Here's like what this means. Here's what this means. Here's what this means. And then, for the rest of us, that's why we have pastors and teachers and whatever. But you got the pastors. The pastors now are just taking advantage of people's inability to understand, and they're taking all the glory for themselves. Like, and like, because I never understood that parable where he says he leaves the 99 to go after the one. I'm like, that doesn't seem like an even exchange. Like, why would you leave the 99 to go after the one? And it's like, I think if the sheep are a specific type of person, it's like those 99 will be fine. Like, he's not leaving them to just be lost. It's like they understand it well enough. Like, he can be gone for a while. They're not going to freak out. But it's like the one, he cares so much. If it's about like the level that he cares for the lowliest or the weakest of the righteous, is like that. Maybe the parable is about this, like, God loves us all so much. It's like he sees the person who is struggling and doesn't understand what's going on and has been swayed by this friend or that, movement or whatever. It's like, I don't know. That one's still half baked, so you don't have to listen to that. But this wicked and righteous thing, it's literally blowing my mind. It's literally blowing my mind. It's the only two kinds of people there are. And you're like, okay, well, what's the difference between, how can you tell between the wicked and the righteous? You're telling me you're able to separate who's wicked and righteous? Because it does sound very, it sounds like the most ultimate judgment you can possibly, whatever. But they're literally showing you. It's not even like you're making a judgment. You're looking into the heart, and it's like, I can see your wicked heart. It's like, no, they're showing you. He just told you what the attributes are. They have no mercy. They have no fidelity. They think of ways to do evil. They exchange the truth for a lie because they like that better. They don't want to hear the truth. Righteous people don't do that ever. Ever. They don't. They're boastful. They're slanderers. They're God haters. They're insolent to anybody. They're just insolent. They're arrogant. Just everywhere. They got no mercy. It's like, you see these people, there's these people out here who don't have mercy. And they think it's righteous. Like, they're just like, if they caught a bad guy, they would give him no mercy. It's just like, okay, that's not always, that's like, God doesn't even do that. Like, what are you doing? And so yes, do most people, or some people, we all have sin. There's sin and there's wickedness. They're two separate things. It's like, okay, here's the other part of it. I was forgetting a whole other part of it, but it's fine. Okay. The other revelation that I got at the same time of this is that this should blow everyone's mind, by the way. It's mind blowing. Okay. The righteous literally have the exact attributes of light. Like the sun, candles, light. The wicked literally, it's like we are the embodiment of light and dark. Here's what I mean. If you have, first of all, can you light a match of darkness? No, you can't. You can't. This is why darkness is inferior to light. Where it says, like, Jesus was the light of the world, and darkness couldn't overcome it or hasn't understood it, whatever your translation is. Okay, you cannot light a match of darkness. You can't light a match and have darkness and go around the room and make dark with. You can't do it. Right? If you light a match in a dark room, like, it makes an impact. Just one match. Just one match. If it's light outside and your closet is dark or your bathroom is dark, it's not the end of the world. You can still see in your bathroom a little bit. If the light went out, it's not like you're just completely incapacitated. It's not that big of a threat. So watch people who have the attributes of darkness. And also, here's another thing. This is a lot, guys. But I'm going to try and edit this, maybe, possibly, if I'm not too lazy. The righteous, the wicked, and the righteous are both kingdoms. They're both kingdoms. And you can't just go by the way that a kingdom operates, because a kingdom has to keep out the enemy. And there's certain things that are allowed and there's certain things that aren't allowed for that kingdom to stay healthy and prevail. So they're both going to do similar things. The wicked are going to do whatever they need to do to preserve their kingdom. Whatever is not bothering them, they don't bother with. Vice versa. So if somebody's just going, let them, it's fine. That's not always a sign of righteousness. So so what I mean is, like what I said about, God, this is so dense now that I'm thinking about it. I'm like, why am I even saying this right now? So what I was saying earlier about light and darkness, and light and, darkness not being a threat to light. So if somebody, that's why a lot of people do, like, we have free speech in America. Free speech in America is because everybody's speech is free. Everybody. If you're weird, there's certain things that you can't do. I'm pretty sure you can't burn the flag, whatever. But you can say pretty much anything you want to, because the nation is founded on Christian principles. You can say that it isn't, but it is. It's literally made on Christian morality, let's say then. So the reason why they're not bothered by your free speech is because Christ is the truth. As long as the truth is prevailing, like, let weirdo, evil, wicked people say what they want. It's no threat to the light. Now, if you're in an evil, or if you're in a wicked country, or wickedness is prevailing over that country, they don't have free speech, because for their kingdom to prevail, they got to make sure they don't hear dissenting opinions. Because darkness needs darkness. It needs complete dark in order to prevail. One match of light can decimate it. One match can decimate it. And people start looking around and seeing things. They got to keep that thing dark. Got to keep it dark. And also, when you light your match, when you let your light shine before men, which the Bible says to do, when you light that match, when you stand up for something, you say this is wrong. When you release those unreleased documents, you put a target on your back. Why? You're just a mailman. You're just a whoever. It doesn't matter. Your light is more powerful than the entire dark kingdom. They got to take you out. Why is it that if you, like, the scariest, most evilest crime, gangster, mafia people are scrambling around trying to get a witness? Some poor single mom, why are they scrambling around the world trying to take this person out? Why does that person have so much power over them? That's insane. It should be insane, but it's reality. It's real. It's accurate, because the righteous are more powerful than the wicked, and truth is more powerful than lies, and light is more powerful than dark, and they're literally all the same thing. The righteous literally have the attributes of light, and that's how you can tell them apart. But you can't be fooled by certain things, because they are both kingdoms. And so the devil will try to sometimes fool you into thinking something is light by the way he reacts. So like, these, I don't know if you've heard of these books like 12 Rules for Radicals and these sort of handbooks that people have to sort of, engineer the population. And like, just for an example, like if somebody comes out with an accusation in the media, a lot of times what the media will do is they'll ignore that. And the reason why they ignore it or pretend like it's not there is because, yeah, it's like there's a technical reason for not responding to every accusation that is out there. You end up looking more guilty when you whatever, blah blah blah. But ultimately, the reason is they're trying to mimic the kingdom of light, because the kingdom of light is not bothered by just darkness. There's no match of darkness. You and you one little person with your little match of darkness, it's not real. No one's intimidated by that. So they mimic the way that light operates when they do that. And so that makes people doubt like whether that claim is even true or not, because they don't flip out. They want to flip out. They want to freak out. And behind closed doors, they are freaking out when that one person comes forward. They're freaking out, but they know that they can't publicly freak out. So they just act like nothing is happening. Now, when that person, quietly decides to go for a dip in the lake and doesn't come home, then they send their condolences. But they were freaking out that whole time, like guaranteed. So they'll try to mimic light to make it seem like it's truth, but it's pretty hard to do. It's pretty hard for darkness to really do it. Now they've got like a lot of things at their disposal to make it happen, but if you're really paying attention, you can see the inconsistencies plain as day, especially if you're not wicked yourself. So that I actually 37 minutes is actually not bad, because it's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy. It's been rocking my whole life for a year. I've been using that for just about everything. It's just one of my lenses that I look through, because there's only two kinds of people, man. And there's people that start out in righteous families. They don't like it, and they leave. So, there's nature and nurture and upbringing and culture and whatever, but there's two kinds of people. I don't know, why some become one or the other, and I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's just how it is. And when that person picks a side, you're just going to go the other way more than likely. There's no reasoning with the wicked, and there's no reasoning with the righteous, really. Like, that's what you want to be. And there's ways to tell if you're one or the other. If you're the type of person, if you just don't, it's funny because I've seen people over the years that maybe they weren't Christians, but they were righteous people. And there are just certain things that they got wearied by shit. They just did not like wickedness. And it's really, really interesting. And I think when you understand that those are the people that God's talking about, that those are the people that God is addressing. I always used to get confused about, the passage where he says, "You are the light of the world and you are the salt of the earth." And I'd be like, who is he talking to? Is he talking to Jews? Is he talking to the disciples? Is he talking to the crowd? Is he talking to Christians that are reading this 1,000 years later? Who is his intended audience? And it's really anybody who's standing there listening to Jesus talk. You know what I mean? It's like anyone who's sitting there and is interested in what he has to say and hasn't got up and left is the righteous. Because if you are uncomfortable around Jesus, you're not, if you're uncomfortable with any type of truth, you're not hanging out at Jesus's house. You're not walking with him. You're not staring at him. That right there is the light. So anybody that was hanging out with him and it was interested in anything he had to say at all was the righteous. So, They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And what I find interesting is you can't always predict. There's a lot of friends that I've lost over the years that I'm just, some of them weren't surprises and some of them were total surprises. Total surprises. People that were, prominent in church circles that you just would have swore up and down had just a personal phone line to heaven. Nope. They didn't like it. They every time they were at church, they were sweating and couldn't wait to get out of there. And it's not like church is the benchmark, because a lot of churches whack, and a lot of churches that I went to that I thought were great at the time were pretty whack. And it was hindering us more than it was helping us. And the problem with that is it keeps wicked people around a lot longer than they need to be, and it stifles the righteous. I'm telling you, man, this has simplified my life. You don't have to try to be nice to people or try to be Christian-like or whatever you feel like you need to try to do, when you just understand that it's the people who love the truth. You rejoice in the truth. You want to see justice happen. Those are probably your people. And the people who are comfortable with certain things, or want these people who are like, well, how can we really know? And what is truth? And how do we know? It's like, yeah, how are you? That's so annoying me. It's like somebody who's just trying to light their little match of darkness. It's like, get out of here with that. We're trying to uncover the mysteries and the truth. And you go, well, how would you even really, how could you even possibly know? It's like, just shut up. Just shut up. You're not helping. Like, that just irritates me to no end. So, you gotta, there's still people sinning. There's always going to be people sinning and doing bad stuff at night, in the dark, whatever. But as long as those people are miserable doing that, there's hope. It's not even so much that you are this good, you've got these good habits and you're just, it's not even about that you're doing good, healthy things. You could either be doing good, healthy things and loving it. Okay, you're righteous. Or you could be doing bad, unhealthy things and hating it. Also righteous. It's about being on the right side of the thing. If you're doing bad stuff and you hate that about yourself, you're consistent with reality. That's consistent with reality. That's consistent with truth. If you are doing bad stuff and you're trying to run for Congress because now it's really it's the best thing ever, now you're upside down. You're saying things that are not true. You're perverting things that are good, and that's wicked. Or if you're doing good things, we all know what a hypocrite looks like, but it's just like, especially in these days, you just got to give credit to the person who is doing bad and knows it's bad. It's like, okay, we can work with that. But, people inventing ways to do evil, we don't need that. Who needs that? That's not freedom also, by the way. There's a lot of things getting perverted. So I don't want to, I'm going on too long. I'm getting rambly. So yeah, that's my revelation about the wicked and the righteous. And I'll probably do another one tomorrow because I got a couple back to back. That one I want to do, and then this frog thing that I vaguely mentioned, I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. That one shouldn't take nearly as long. It should just be a fraction of time. All right, so that's it. Thank you for listening to this. Anybody who actually sticks to it. I mean, my gosh, I'm out of practice. In stream.